Hi everybody, it's Scott Stoltz, and I'm sitting here with two of my good friends who have been helping me prepare for an upcoming event on Monday, May 14th. We're recording this the night before Mother's Day, so happy early Mother's Day to all of our friends out there who are moms, or if you're just going to celebrate with your mom tomorrow and on Sunday, have a great day. But the three of us thought we'd share with you for a few minutes some suggestions and tips because we're brainstorming, planning for our event on Monday night. We're pretty much done and ready. I think everything's in place. Jillian, Kara, and they've been big helps as I get ready for this event. And we're going to talk a little bit about the event coming up, but more importantly for this video, we wanted to share some tips and suggestions and feedback on what goes into putting on a good event. And we wanted to share that because, or in part, events are a great way. If you are an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, if you run or own your own business, if you're starting or thinking of starting something new, events are a great way to put yourself out there. But as we've been talking about, and as we know, you got to do events, we have to do them right. So they're really good to do. There's nothing stopping you from creating and putting on a great event, but we have to do them right. So we're going to talk for a few minutes and share with you what are some of the key steps to putting on a really high value, worthwhile event so that the people who attend are leaving feeling good, feeling like they learned something, like they got a call to action, and that they're going to want to go back again if you are putting on another event. So, Jillian, let's start with you, because we've been talking and we've been throwing ideas around. We have a big event coming on Monday night, and we have a good number of signups. So we were thinking about like what's drawn people to this event, and we'll talk more about that later. What's one of the things that you think is key or essential to putting on a good event?
I think one of the main things that's key or essential is knowing your audience. Like, who are you targeting? Because that's going to come into play as far as title, as far as description. Also might come into play as far as where you're hosting the event. And
Okay, so audience. And is there a way, like as we've learned, so Jillian's been working with me for almost a year now and has helped me put on a number of workshops and one big event in Arizona, which we had a lot of help with. But what's one of the challenges with finding that audience? Because, you know, we have platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook to reach out, but what's one of the ways or challenges that you've seen us come across in terms of connecting with the right people?
yeah, that can be a huge challenge. A lot of times, the best thing to do is maybe find other people that are kind of along the same lines as what you're doing and reach out to their audience as well, and just networking and getting it out there. And obviously, the more places you put it out there, the more opportunity there is for people to see it. So just taking into consideration not only putting it out there on Eventbrite, Meetup, LinkedIn, Facebook, and there's a bunch of other event marketing websites you can put it out, and then also reaching out to local publications and event boards. A lot of communities have their own event boards or bulletin boards of what's going on in the area, so just checking all those out.
Yeah, good call out and mention of so many platforms that people can use. And Kara, who I've known for several months now, and is a great networker. So I know exactly where I'm going to go with you. And I asked Kara a few weeks ago, once we got the event rolling and we got the venue situated and we knew the topic and the type of panelists we were going to engage for the event, I asked Kara to get involved and help. And you're a really good networker. You don't give yourself a lot of credit for that, but she knows people, she connects with people. So what's one of the things, you know, Jillian talked a lot about platforms to use, but what's some of the organic or word of mouth approaches that you use when you talk to people about spreading the word around an event that's coming up?
Well, I mean, I would first say that, thanks for the compliment, by the way, but I would say that trying to reconnect with people. So we were just at an event last week, and I was able to do some follow-up with them and mention the event that we're hosting on Monday. It was a men's event that we were at, so it was hosted for men, a new men's networking group. So where the topic on Monday is men and women and how to engage better in the workplace. Naturally, I thought that perhaps those individuals might be interested in coming to this program, thinking that gender topics or discussions are of interest to them.
Very relevant these days, right?
Yeah, and it may or may not be. So, for example, and we were just talking about this as we were preparing for the call, what does, I think one of the big question marks, and that no one really necessarily has a very clear answer on, is what is it that draws people to go to events? So is it, so Jillian mentioned the target audience and who are you looking to target? It's not only who you're looking to target, but what matters to those people. So if you're approaching program development and you're really hell-bent on a topic, you might want to think about who cares about that particular topic and maybe try to do some market research first. And by market research, I just mean talking to people or engaging people, whether it's
like
online.
getting feedback and word of mouth.
Yeah, and that could go one of two ways, right? It could, you might not get the right data either, right? So I kind of feel like you have to look at everything with a grain of salt and trust your gut, I think, maybe too. But yeah, definitely. So I don't know that I answered your question.
Well, you are partly. And so thanks for joining or tuning in, whether you're watching this live or you see this later recorded. And we're providing input. The three of us have put on events. We're in the course of putting on another event Monday, May 14th in Boston on how men and women can better understand each other in the workplace. And there's a lot of work that goes into putting these events on, so we wanted to share some of the lessons learned and takeaways and the value. And I see Ken Course is watching. Ken does a lot of teaching, coaching, and guidance around, and you've seen some of it, on how to put on and what goes into putting on a big event. So to build on what you were just saying, though, you made a good point before we went live about you can hone in on a topic, and this is really important. You can hone in on a topic and stick to that topic because you really believe in that. That's the message. That's the information you want to bring out there. Or you can focus on what can I do that's going to really bring value to an audience. Because if you go with number one and focus, this is a topic I'm putting out there, this is what I'm going to share and I'm going to teach, it's almost like irrespective of how the audience might respond to it, right?
And irrespective of who the audience is. Yeah.
And who it is. So do you have a preferred approach? Like, what do you think, which of those two works better?
Well, it depends on the purpose of your event or your program, right? So if you're not inflexible, for example, if you're not flexible about the topic, you feel really passionate about it, and you want to engage a community that cares about it, then I guess the first step would be to identify speakers who, whether they're published, I think you were sort of, talking about this, identifying people who would be a draw to a community who cares about that particular topic, would be a good approach.
Okay. So, and Jillian, you've done a lot of work with venues, and let's pivot over to that too, because I think, one thing I will share as somebody who's done events and helped run and facilitate and hosted events too, and even workshops, I thought in the beginning, and I would love feedback on this, and if you're out there, and hi Andrea, I see Andrea's on, Ken, if you're watching still, you guys have done this kind of stuff, so I would love your input if you want to comment. But I used to think that the venue was really important. When I first started doing this, I thought that the venue, the location, and even like the makeup of the set and setup of the venue is really important. And I think I've evolved, my line of thinking has evolved. I'm really excited. We're doing Monday's event at District Hall in the Seaport area of Boston, which I'm really excited about, but I don't know that the venue location matters as much. What's your experience with that?
Yeah, and I know in the beginning, when you were doing workshops last year and things like that, we were really focused on location and what's practical for people and what would be, easy place for people to get to. But I kind of have the same feeling now. Like, I think we've shied away from that a lot. I mean, if it's a good topic, people are going to travel, people are going to go. I don't think it necessarily matters what part of the city it's in.
Yeah, that's part of my experience. Do you have any thoughts on that? I know in your corporate career you went to a lot of events. Does that matter a lot?
Well, again, it matters on who you're looking to draw. So if it's a community-based conversation and you want people, from whether it's corporate, all the way down to students, let's say, right? And corporate executives to students, which I've been to a couple of those events actually, right? You'd probably want it to be close to a T station or somewhere that's accessible, you know, if it's downtown.
Or if it's
Boston.
students somewhere that's close to like a college or that you can draw
Right.
people and would be
Or on
convenient for them.
campus,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
So I do think location, you know, it's less about what the insides look like, right? But it is from a location perspective, I think, you know, if there's an event that's like somewhere that's totally inaccessible or expensive parking, honestly, I'm maybe, or
Okay.
that I have to
Yeah.
sit in traffic
Yeah.
to go to and it's at 5:30, I'm like, maybe next
Yeah.
time.
Well, maybe this is good to hear different perspectives. And Andrea, I'm going to get to your comment in a second. But yeah, because I've done most of mine in Boston. So to me, it's not as big of a deal where it is. But you make a good point. Like if it's in different places that people have to drive to. And our event in Arizona was a little bit not the best case study because it was easy to get to. It was in a central location. So I haven't seen the challenge of
And
the
plus,
place
it kind of the venue lended itself to the topic.
in Arizona.
Where we had it,
Yeah.
So I think that comes into play as well. Just what your topic is and how you want it to be formatted might distinguish one venue over another.
Yeah, for sure.
You want it like a less formal event, a more formal event. If you're going to be networking in between, you want to make sure you have room for that. You know, not just a closed, you don't want a classroom setup kind of situation. So.
Andrea, who I know has done, Andrea and I haven't met yet, but we are soon, and we've been talking electronically. I know she's done some seminar/workshop type work, and looks like, Andrea, I saw a lot of pictures online. It looks like you had a great setup and a great crowd that day. And she's commenting that ambiance is so important. The venue creates like the mood and the aesthetic, which, yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think when people are, and you guys tell me what you think of this, I think for a workshop and where people are going to be there for 4, 6, 8 hours, that kind of being in a nice environment. I go into workshops where it's in a windowless place and it sucks.
Or at least sterile.
I hated that. But, you know, a nice set. What's your thoughts? Have you been in an all-day workshop when the ambiance mattered?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was the other way around. So there were actually a ton of windows. We were able to go outside. It was a nice day out. So it sort of felt like it broke up the day a little bit. I mean, it also happened to be an unusually warm day in the fall. So, you know, I think also too, we're in a place where, you know, we're not always going to have sun shining and,
Wow.
you know, but a closed window room
Not good.
would,
Yeah,
Go
probably
crazy.
would have resulted in different feel from you guys and how you were receiving the information being in a
Yeah.
setting like that.
yeah, you want to be, I don't know, I at least feel like I want to be as stimulating as the panelists are too, right? You don't want to necessarily be stimulated by the room, but being in a white, you know, windowless wall.
He likes
actually
windows.
for
Do you
me.
like windows?
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
natural light, yeah.
Yeah, natural light.
Our Arizona event was in a dark place. It did work out to be a good venue on several fronts, and it was a nice intimate setting. You know, the crowd size has a lot to do with it too, don't you think?
Yes.
If you know it's going to be more 20 to 30 and it's a talk, that you don't want too big, right? Weren't you saying that earlier?
Yeah, and I mean, look, I've been to events or conferences where, you know, it's over the course of 4 days, it's a big convention hall, there are breakout rooms, and so I don't think we're talking about that type of event, but even in those instances, I find myself getting a little, you know, stir crazy, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So, foot tapping, and that's not
Fidgety.
usually fidgeting,
Yeah.
and that's not usually my thing.
So Monday night, if you're still hanging with us, or again, if you see the recorded version of this later, prior to Monday, May 14th, we're having an event 5:30 to 8 at District Hall in the Seaport area of Boston called How Men and Women Can Better Understand Each Other in the Workplace. We're going to be in a relatively large room. We're expecting anywhere from 40 to 50 people. And by the way, if you're in Boston that day and you haven't registered and signed up, check us out on Eventbrite, sign up, or just feel free to come by. It's a free event, and it's going to be a great panel providing high-value input on some really interesting topics. But to wrap up in the last one or 2 minutes of this, what do you think? You both have helped me with this event. Jillian, we'll start with you. What is one of the draws? Forget the topic for a second. What would you say to the audience? What's one of the draws for Monday night? Not including the topic, like just coming to District Hall, and what would you say?
Yeah, I would say just coming to District Hall. Like, I haven't been there myself. I actually don't live in Boston. But when I found out about the venue and I was looking at it online, I'm like, that looks like a really cool building. But I was also an architecture major, so
It's different.
Kind of, yeah. It's a neat, instead of just being like a just plain rectangular building. Like I thought it looked pretty cool.
All right. Anything else? What else are you looking forward to Monday night? Anything?
I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of new people, especially our panelists and speakers. And you know, like Scott mentioned, I've been working with him about a year, and he's got several clients, and I've had contact with all of them via phone and video and things like that. So to actually meet everybody in person, I'm really looking forward to that.
Cool, good. And how about you?
Diverse crowd, I think. I think the audience, because the topic is so applicable to so many people, many of us, actually most of us, I think we've garnered some broad attraction and interest. So I'm excited to meet a lot of new people too.
Yeah.
Even though I'm here in Boston.
You're both very good networkers and connectors. You work the room well. And so, you know, again, to wrap up, we wanted to throw this topic out there. So again, whether you own a business, whether you are starting a business, you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, I've learned, take it from me a year in, just throw yourself. I never, a year ago, if somebody had told me, I think at this point a year ago, I had not done any of my own events or even workshops. I knew I was likely going to go down this road, but I was, wait, how is this going to work out? I've never done my own event. I'm not necessarily shy, but I'm also not always looking for the spotlight. But they work really well, and really any event, even those I have not run or put on myself, anytime I do an event or a function, it really, if you're putting high quality, high value material out there, it always works out well. I mean, people are we have to provide high value, do it right, and make sure that you're thinking of your audience. We talked a little bit about that earlier, and how they're going to benefit from being there. But if you do that, it's a great way to get your business, your brand, your work, and yourself out there to a whole new community of people. So, food for thought. Any other parting shots before we tune off?
Hope to see you Monday.
Yep, same.
Oh, I like that one too. All right, hope to see you Monday, and if not, I'll see you in another place another time soon.
Happy Mother's Day.
Bye.
Bye.